wonderful food expert, Benny Mack, is joining me today. And there's a reason why you do some of your dishes. You're always taking into consideration where food comes from, what season are we in.
Yep.
We're doing beef cheeks today. Why did you choose this dish?
So this dish for me is all about using all of the bits. You know, with meat in particular, we often preference things like the eye fillet or the porterhouse or the sirloin. But there's so many other amazing cuts out there which are just as delicious, if not more.
Absolutely.
And actually more affordable as well.
I love beef cheeks. They're a secondary cut, but they're actually becoming quite popular now because people are understanding how to cook them.
Yeah, for sure. And actually there's a lot of people now that are saying artisanal cuts rather than secondary because, you know, we want to highlight these cuts because they are delicious.
Yep.
They do require a little bit more cooking, so generally you'd cook them for longer at a lower temperature.
Yep. But in regards to labour, there's very little labour.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, well, speaking of labour, get me to work.
All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to seal these off. If you want to chop up some mirepoix for us.
Absolutely. So I'm just going to peel those, cut them into rounds?
Yep, just cut them nice and rough.
Cool.
As that's happening, I'm going to get this pan really nice and hot and seal them off to get a really nice caramelisation.
Now, we're using beef cheeks today. Other artisanal cuts that we could use for this recipe, because it's totally interchangeable, right?
Absolutely. So, yeah, you could use brisket, you could use, all sorts of different cuts.
Oxtail.
Yep.
Delicious with that.
Ossobuco.
Yep.
Generally, anything that's kind of a more well-worked muscle on the animal is going to have more flavour. All right, so we've got this pan really nice and hot. So the secret with this is you want to make a really nice caramelisation on the beef cheeks.
Yep.
Because essentially what we're doing with the braise is we're making a stock at the same time as cooking the meat.
Nice.
So the more colour that we add at this point, the better the flavour is going to end up at the end. So chuck that in there. You don't want to overload the pan, so I might just put in 3 of these guys.
So, Benny, I guess after we've sealed off the meat, we can add our carrot, roughly chop the celery and the onions.
Yep, sounds perfect.
Great.
All right, so we have some beautiful caramelisation on here. Now we're going to get all that mirepoix into the pan. Going to toast that off a wee bit. So then we've got our aromats, so we've got a bit of fresh thyme and then some mustard seeds. And if you want to grab the stock, and then we can bang that in there.
Mustard seed, that's interesting. I've never done that before.
It just adds a little bit more flavour to incorporate into the meat. Just makes it really delicious.
Yummo.
So you just want to put in enough stock to cover the beef, and then we're going to cover it with this here cartouche. So by putting on a cartouche, which is lovingly cut into this perfect circular shape, we're trapping in the steam and just helping it to cook a little bit more evenly.
And Ben, how hot is your oven and how long are we cooking this for?
So we've got the oven at 150 degrees and we're going to cook it for 5 to 6 hours.
All right, well, better get that in.
Yep, awesome.
Now, while the beef cheeks are cooking in the oven, we can get on to something that really goes beautifully with beef cheeks, beetroot.
Yep, absolutely. So we've got all these baby beetroots here. We are going to use them in a slightly different way today by using all of the beet.
Yep.
So normally you just use this little guy, but we are going to be using all of it, including the stems and the leaves.
So often we throw this away, but this has a gorgeous earthy flavour to it. That's the only way to describe it, and quite sweet.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we're going to simply just boil these, start them off in cold water with a healthy dose of salt, pop that in, and then a little bit of mustard seeds just for fun.
Yep.
So we will just get that on straight away. Now the secret with this is what I love to do is you cook the beets until they're tender and then you let them cool down fully in the liquid.
Right.
What happens is that all of the juice from the beets kind of come out into the water, and then if you let them cool down fully, then that flavour and that colour goes back inside the beetroot.
He's full of tips and tricks. I love this man.
It's one of those things, you know, what I want as a chef is to make the beetroot as beetrooty as possible. And so that's what I found that works really well.
Great, nice one. And what are we going to do with these gorgeous little leaves?
Yeah, so with these, because the stems of the beetroot are quite tough, we're going to pickle them using a hot pickling technique.
Okay.
So if you want to cut them up just into about inch-long lengths,
Yes, sure can.
I'm going to get on my pickling liquid. Now for this one, I use the 3-2-1 recipe. So 3 parts vinegar, 2 parts sugar, 1 part water.
Nice.
Very simple.
Yep.
So I'm just going to bung it all into a pot. A little bit of sugar. Heat it up. And all you really need to do is just dissolve the sugar and get it nice and warm. and then we're going to pour that over top of our beetroot stems.
Nice.
We're also going to chuck in the thyme. Let's get that in there now.
Okay.
That's just going to flavour that water, which, like I said before, is going to get more flavour into the beets.
Nice one.
So we're also going to use a little bit of a horseradish yogurt. So the horseradish has got this beautiful bite. It's going to help to round out that sweetness and earthiness of the beets. And then the yogurt's going to help to bind it all together.
Yummo.
Yeah.
Well, there's your little stems. They're ready to go. We're not going to throw these. These are for later. And I guess I can just start grating this directly into the yogurt.
Absolutely. So different types of horseradish have different types of strength. So the secret with that is just put it in and just taste as you go. Cool. So just you can see that all the sugar's dissolved out of the pickling liquid. And we're very simply just going to splash that all over the bench. And then we're going to pour it on top of the stems. So literally just want to cover it, let that sit, and in about 30 minutes you will have beautifully pickled beetroot stems.
All right, we'll just let that pickle. We'll finish cooking the beef cheeks, and then we're going to bring this whole thing together.
Absolutely.
Now, we've been waiting patiently, but our beef cheeks are finally cooked. We've taken them out of the oven. Oh,
gorgeous.
Isn't that the best smell?
So good.
I love the smell of slow-cooked beef cheeks. And I'm going to carefully take out that cartouche. It's done its job. Ooh.
So what you want to do is just get in there and make sure that they're nice and tender, which they are.
Oh, look at that. It's
They are
falling apart.
Nice.
But we don't want to break them, right? So I'll just carefully transfer them.
Spash them out, yep. So we've got the beetroots that we've cooked in the liquid and then let fully cool down. And you literally just have to peel off the skin. It comes off so easily. Much easier than peeling beforehand, for sure.
Yeah.
Nice one. So if you want to give me that pan once it's all out, and I'll strain off the liquid.
Very hot, so I'll let you take that.
Yep, perfect. Thank you. And so we're going to use this beautiful stock and make a sauce out of it. So what we're going to do is simply strain off all of that mirepoix, pop it in there, turn it back on the heat, and using corn flour, we're going to just thicken it up a wee bit, and that's going to become a beautiful sauce to finish the dish. So what we're going to do is add a little bit of water and just make a bit of a slurry, bit of a corn flour slurry, just like that. Whisk out any of the lumps. Nice and easy. All right, cool. So our beautiful stock has come up to the boil. And what we're going to do is just slowly but surely pour in a little bit of that corn flour slurry. You don't want to add too much because it does go gloopy and slimy.
Yeah,
you just want to help it come together and bind up into a nice sauce.
Beautiful.
I'm going to call that done.
Oh, good.
So what we're going to do is start off with a bit of the horseradish yogurt right on the bottom. Very generous. Bam.
Nice.
It's good for you. It's winter. If you got a bit of a cold, spoonful of this, sort you right out.
Absolutely.
So we're just going to put that on the bottom like so. Now, with the beets, we're going to dress that a little bit with some fresh basil, a little bit of salt and olive oil. So if you want to just chiffonade some of that basil for us.
Look at that giant leaf. Huge
Amazing.
basil.
Gorgeous.
So chiffonade pretty much just means wrapping it up almost like a cigar and then finely slicing it. So we get really nice long strips.
Absolutely, and it's just a gentler way to cut herbs.
Yeah.
It means you don't end up with it bruised or losing any of that vibrancy.
Exactly. All right, in it goes.
Yep, little bang of oil.
Yep.
Awesome. So we'll give that a bit of a toss. And then
Really interesting flavours here. Mustard throughout this dish. Basil, which I wouldn't have I've used with this, but it really gives, I can smell it. I'm like, that's going to really work with those the beetroot.
It works really well. All right, so now we're going to transfer one of our beef cheeks over onto the plate here.
Oh, they're so soft. They're so gelatinous, I guess is the word we would use.
They are bloody gorgeous. All right, so look, this is going to be a share plate, so let's put two on.
Okay.
There are two of us.
Nice. I'll move that out of your way.
Thank you. And then, so now we've got our beautiful pickled beetroot stems. So you can see, again, the colour has come out and then it's kind of gone back in and made it this beautiful, vibrant purple pink colour. So what we're going to do is take out a few of these and we're just going to pop it on top and around. And then, coming back to our beetroot leaves, we're going to use those ones as well. So these ones, you want to get the young ones. When they do get a bit older, then they start to really get quite bitter. So I'm just going to cut this to nice long pieces. The stem. All right, and then we're going to put on our beautiful sauce, and we're just going to drizzle that over and give that lovely flavour, nice moisture. It's just going to help tie it all together.
Lovely. That looks so brilliant.
All right, and now for the finale.
There's more.
Something a little bit special. So if you go into the freezer, you'll find some feta. Now this is a nice little kind of chefy twist that you can do at home if you really want to wow your friends. Simply get a block of feta. Actually, you can do it with any cheese. I've done it with blue cheese before. And then, using a microplane,
Ooh, it's snowing feta.
give it a bit of a showering of the frozen feta. And that just creates a really nice finish.
Benny, that's a work of art on that plate.
Thanks, mate. Thank you.
It looks brilliant and the flavours are sensational. That pop of saltiness from the feta, I get what you've done there. This is such a lovely way to showcase not only the artisan style of meat, so beef cheeks, but also using the whole vegetable. And I guess your ethos here is think twice when you're using your ingredients. Think about community, think about seasonality, and then you'll get the most out of it and it'll even taste better. And I think that's the key message here.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thanks, Benny.
Thanks, Joss.